I hope my lighting is not too poor. Hi, Nabuguzi and Denis. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, Denis.
Hi, Oby.
How are you?
I am very well. I'm very well. It's been an interesting morning.
I'm going to ask you one question. I always ask everybody before I start off a conversation. I always ask them, how is your mental health? So how is your mental health, Denis?
My mental health is good. I very proactively work to ensure that it is in a good place.
Fantastic. I'm wondering where Nabuguzi is. I can't see her.
She's right here.
Hi, Nabuguzi.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you, and how's your mental health?
Well, it's just a few minutes. It's more like half an hour of us panicking to try to figure this out. So, friend, not funny.
It's not funny at all. But I'm glad that we finally.
All is well that ends well, guys. All is
absolutely.
Well that we made it.
Absolutely.
We made it. That's what counts.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. So first of all, thank you for coming on board to have this very, what I consider very crucial and timely conversation revolving around mental health as a fundamental human right. This program was put together by Nabuguzi and I, who have always planned to come together to do something revolving around mental health. And we thought, what other day or what best day to do this than a day before the official World Mental Health Awareness Day. So thank you once again, guys, for coming on board. And I'll just give the floor to Denis so he can do a brief introduction, after which Nabuguzi will also do an introduction, and then we continue. My name is Oby Olamma Nnadi. I'm the team lead for Thryve mental health NGO based in Nigeria. We're an NGO created to create awareness and promote the concept of mental health in Nigeria and beyond. So Denis, over to you.
Denis Agaba is my name. I am a medical doctor with specialized training in psychiatry. So I've devoted my life to mental health and mental well-being. I'm very passionate about everything the mind. So very excited to be here. I've had a couple of conversations with Nabuguzi in the past, and always very exciting to talk about mental health. So I'm very delighted to be part of this discussion today.
Thank you so much, Denis. Thank you so much. Nabuguzi?
Hi, good afternoon here in Uganda. Good morning to the Nigerians. Time differences. I am Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, a mental health advocate, and also the founder and director of Nabu Network. So most people know me as a podcaster, #with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, but there is a broader image of Nabu Network, which is a mental health information services company. We want to make sure that mental health is ably understood amongst the Africans in the right context, walking away from the stereotypes, walking away from mental health. So welcome, thanks for joining us. And I hope that we shall all celebrate World Mental Health Day tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nabuguzi. I'm so glad that we connected, on Facebook. I see what you do. I think you're such an inspiration, because there are not a lot of people, or I feel that there are not enough people talking about mental health in Africa. So straight to the matter, the first thing I want to start, to open these discussions, whenever people ask me what my definition of the term mental health is as a concept, to break it down in the simplest English, that everybody can understand or relate to, I always say to them that mental health is a state of well-being, mental well-being, where if anything happens to you, any traumatic life event occurs, it is likely to impact your mood, your behavior, and trickle down to your interpersonal relationships and other aspects of your life, which is why I am a top campaigner for good mental health and the prevention, if possible, if and where possible, of mental illnesses. So Nabuguzi, I'll ask you, if I say to you, Nabuguzi, what's your definition of the term mental health? What will be your response?
It's not, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
It's not any different from the way how you have defined it. I feel like you've tackled almost all what mental health encompasses. But I think the way how we understand it, or the way how people seem to misunderstand it, is the idea that it is supposed to be just physical health. I have malaria. Yes, that is what is considered to be health, and that's why I am sick or something like that. Something physical, you have a wound. But I like the way, like Denis has mentioned, that we have previously had this for the mental bit of the software in the brain, where the doctors are the ones that deal with that. The doctors, by doctors, I mean the psychiatrists in this state, or maybe the psychologist as well. I think he will correct me if I'm picking that the right way, that they help us rewire ourselves into holistic functionality, that it is not just the physical health. And I think what's funny, that we understand mental health, or rather we only understand health as physical health. There's a time when my ex found out that I had come from a psychologist, and shortly after, when I told him that I have a headache, he was like, "Do you call your psychologist?" I was like, "Bro, it's just a headache." So it's part of health. It's you. It's wholesomely you. How you function emotionally and mentally. It's that kind of health.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nabuguzi. So Denis.
Yes, Oby.
So if I ask you, if I say to you, Denis, I don't want to say Denis as a psychiatrist, so we don't put you on the spot, but Denis Agaba, what is your definition or your perception or understanding of the term mental health?
Thank you very much. Now,
you're welcome.
There's many ways to look at it, but with my background and with my training, we like to standardize things a certain kind of way because it's easier for us to understand it that way. So when we speak about mental health, I'm going to approach it from two ways. I'll start by using the standard definition. So we doctors tend to want to standardize things, to want to have a common language that we can all understand. And so the WHO, the World Health Organization, has conceptualized mental health in the following statement, which I think captures it very beautifully. And it states that, mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual, that's you and me or anyone that there is, can realize his or her own abilities, so can realize their abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a positive contribution to his or her community. Those are the four things that encompass mental well-being. So can you cope with the normal stresses of life? Yeah. Can you realize your abilities, your potential, right? Are you able to work productively and fruitfully? And can you make a contribution to your community? That encompasses mental well-being. And we always add that it's not merely the absence of disease, okay? So oftentimes, and this is a typical thing, if I don't have depression or I don't have anxiety, I don't have OCD, which are diseases, therefore I'm mentally well. Not necessarily. Okay? So we have to be able to differentiate that mental well-being goes over and beyond just not having a diagnosable disorder. Okay, absolutely. So that's really what mental health really is, and I feel like they captured it beautifully because it's very encompassing. All of us, at any one point in time, one reason or the other, might have challenges in regards to these 4 aspects in regards to coping with stress. During the COVID pandemic, when all of us were locked into very small spaces,
Exactly.
that was a stressful time. And many people weren't able to cope with it very well. And so their mental health was compromised, much as they may not have had a disease or an illness. You may not have to see a psychiatrist at the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're mentally well. When we are not able to work productively and fruitfully, when we're not able to realize our full potential. If I am a podcaster and that's my potential, and for some reason, be it the internet or be it, time zones, if for that reason I'm not able to realize my potential, that's going to have an impact on my mental well-being. So I think we need to look at it from that very broader aspect. Because in my typical discussions, when I tell people mental health or I'm a psychiatrist, I think, no, I'm okay. I don't need you. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not, throwing stones or running around naked. Therefore, I'm fine. So not necessarily.
Exactly.
We need to be able to differentiate between mental illness, the disease, and mental wellness. Those are 2 different. And then just to look at it from the other side, away from the very technical way, if we understand the mind and what the mind is, it then gives us a great linkage into what mental health actually is. So we know that the mind, which is one of the organs in the body, is responsible for 3 things: the way I think, the way I feel, the way I behave. Yeah. So our thoughts, emotions, and actions. So anything that interferes negatively with my feelings, with my thoughts, or with my actions interferes with my mental well-being, because my mind is then not functioning as it should. So I believe for me, that's how I can, in brief, conceptualize mental health.
I want to give Denis, I so badly want to give you a round of applause. Fantastic. I mean, even and I guess this is where the professional in you, comes to life, because you have so detailed it. You were so down to detail that I got an entirely, even though I understand it from the angle which you have defined it, but I still got an insight, an entirely different insight, as to what the concept of mental health entails. So thank you so much, Denis and Nabuguzi. And the theme for World Mental Health Awareness Day, which is tomorrow, which will be celebrated tomorrow, the 10th of October, is mental health is a fundamental human right. Yeah. So Denis, as you mentioned, like you mentioned, health is already an established fundamental human right. I mean, we all know that. But the question, it now boils down to why the loud silence on mental health? Because I mean, even in Africa, I'm using Africa as an example because this is where I live. That's the continent where I live. So even with physical health as a fundamental human right, we all know that there are quite a number of Africans who do not even have that access to physical health, because for instance, in some African countries, you don't even have health insurance policies in place to cater to, physical illnesses and whatever needs people might have when it concerns their physical health. So there's still that gap, even in physical health. But I'm then asking, even with all the awareness on mental health, even with the fact that we live in the age of information where you can just get information at your fingertips, why the loud silence on mental health as a fundamental human right when we talk about physical and mental health as 2 types of health? So Denis, please, over to you.
Thank you, Oby. I think the first thing I would like to say there is that, mental health is not really a different type of health. It is part of the broader spectrum of health.
Absolutely,
again,
absolutely.
If we go back to the definition of health by the World Health Organization, which really is the standard at the end of the day, we talk about the state of physical, mental, I emphasize mental, so physical, mental, and social well-being, right? So yes. Mental health is not a different type of health, it is part and parcel
of health. Thank you for that correction. Thank you.
And the very first director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Chislop, is quoted to have famously said, there is no health without mental health.
Without mental health.
There is no health without mental health. So it's important for us to remember, that mental health is part and parcel of health. So whenever we speak of health, we are fundamentally also including the mental health aspect of it. So that's something we have to continuously remind ourselves about. Of course, as mentioned, from 1978, the Alma Ata Declaration, when we began to speak about human rights as a whole, health was one of those things that was listed among, the rights, the human rights, together with freedom and all the others. They're quite a number. But just to focus on health, health was indicated as one of those things that each of us, by virtue of being human beings, is entitled to without any discrimination. So we are all entitled to good health. If we look at the SDGs, that were, the 2030, SDGs, SDG 3 is good health and well-being, okay? And so good health ideally will also encompass mental health, okay? So the agenda for health is very well defined, but a lot of the time when they say health, we are speaking physical health, mental health is almost always sidelined and, sort of pushed to the side. More so actually here in Africa as well. And my analysis of the whole situation, why is the silence very loud? It goes back down to ignorance. We really, and the majority of us, do not know so much about mental health. Okay, it's that part that many of us, really don't know. There's a lot of myths around mental health and mental well-being. We as Africans, and I think globally, we still have a lot of superstition attached to mental health. We have a lot of cultural understandings and cultural biases around mental health. And so for these things, when we don't know, then it's very easy for us to sort of, stand away from that which we do not know. We're most likely to shun that which we do not know, or to just apportion it to our own understanding of things. If you read the history of mental health and mental well-being, I mean, even in the Western world, for a long time, these people were considered to have curses, or this is something that is divine, it is a curse, or something
spiritual problems
for a long time. Spiritual problems, many times with spiritual or demonic kind of thing, or so it took a long time for us to begin to understand how the mind works and how it integrates with the rest of the body. Even the science of psychiatry is actually not very old compared to the other disciplines. So as I believe, the more we come to understand, the more we come to know, the more we increase our mental health literacy, then it becomes a lot easier for us to start to understand the problem and then to deal with it. Because you cannot fight what you do not know. You cannot improve what you have no idea about. So for me, that's my simple analysis of the situation. Why is the silence so loud? Well, first and foremost, because we do not know. Maybe to an extent, we're also not willing to know.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Denis, for your fantastic contributions. So Nabuguzi, okay, before I switch to Nabuguzi, I can see Harriet, January, and DK. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. So if you have something you'd like to say, if you'd like to, contribute at some point, or if you'd like to leave a message on the chat board, we'll read it out. Thank you so much for joining us. So Nabuguzi,
Harriet shared something.
Yes.
That was in the
mental literacy, mental health literacy. Was she the one who shared that on the chat board?
No. That's me who has written that. She wrote, "I understand mental health as my peace of mind, which encompasses so much more: my surroundings, my finances, my physical health, etc. I understand it as the whole combination that takes to the peaceful state."
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Harriet. Thank you. And thank you, Nabuguzi, for reading out Harriet's message. So Nabuguzi, I just asked, Denis just responded to the question that I asked. As Denis has rightly stated, and as he corrected me, which I thank him for. Mental health is part of health. When you say health, look, I mean, 10 years ago, when I hear the word health, I'm thinking physical health. I'm thinking, okay, I can just get up, dress up, go to work, get my kids from school, pick up the phone and call my family and friends. I know when to eat, stuff. That's the only thing that comes to mind when you hear the word health. But I'm asking, because again, I'm going back to the theme for World Mental Health Awareness Day, which is tomorrow, which is mental health, is a fundamental human right. And I asked Denis and I said, why do you think, why is the silence on mental health as a key part of health? Because for me, I believe, I know that mental health is a key part of health, because most of the illnesses that we experience all starts in the mind. And we all know that any illness that starts in the mind, that is not contained as quickly as it should be, will eventually trickle down to every other aspect of your life. So why do you think the silence on mental health, on the mental health aspect of health, is so loud in Africa, using Africa as a point of reference?
It's a very good thing that you've talked about using Africa as the point of reference, because the thing that inhibits us most about when it comes to talking about mental health is the cultural aspects. There is this idea, and like Denis had mentioned, very many years ago, people were attributing it to demonic attacks and things like that. When you look at the first thing that someone gets to think about back then, before the modernization and everything, is the traditional beliefs that we have in as far as religion is concerned. We are rather spirituality as well, I think. You look at people having to be exercised and things like that. So of course, when you go out of your element, where you cannot function as every other person is imagined to function, you are straight away cancelled. There was some sort of cancel culture in that period where we're like, no, this person is not part of us, and therefore we cannot accept them to be within our circles. You find that there are people that struggle with mental challenges, as far as illness is concerned. You find them with, let me say, maybe they have bipolar or schizophrenia. And the first thing they're thinking of, where is this juju man? We need to cleanse them. Are they high priests in Nigeria or chiefs? I don't know.
They're called native
Straight away,
doctors.
we need to cleanse this person. Native doctors. This person has been attacked. Cleanse them. We need to know, or maybe they think it's a punishment that your forefathers, four mothers and four mothers, four mothers and four fathers did. Exactly. So before you know it, they're talking about your family as something that is cursed. And no one wants that. No one wants to be seen as such. So if they find themselves in a position where they cannot find something that is disturbing you physically, they're straight away running to the idea that, oh my God, we are doomed. We have been cast. We don't have enough resources to get in touch with the native doctors. When it comes to also, I think truly as Africans, we are religious people. Religion has been a great aspect to the way how we deal with life. And even when we come to the modern era, we're still having ourselves tied in Christianity, and mostly Christianity, I would say, and maybe Islam. I can't speak so much for that because I don't know their practices as much. So you find that we believe as Christians, as a believer of Christ, as a child of God, we are supposed to be fully functional. And therefore, if you feel like you are not well, that means probably you have sinned. I mean, we've seen the Bible where lepers were talked about as those that were paying for the sins of their, whatever had happened in the past. And it's not any different. We're now carrying a combination of traditional beliefs and the modern religion, where we're taking people to the churches, they're having overnights, we're having pastors over also praying and in a way worsening our mental health, because there are some pastors that be like, hey, it is there, it's going to cut your head, pray against it. Like, bro, what am I seeing? What am I supposed to say? I don't see anything.
Okay, I don't know. Have we lost? We seem to have lost Nabuguzi. Can anyone else hear her?
No. Oh, she's back.
So it's
No.
supposed not. I'm sorry, I'd gone off. Someone had called.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's a system of fear. We are rotating in fear. We are constantly looking over our shoulders. Who is bewitching me? That aunt didn't like my mom, so therefore something is happening. We need to cast them out and, you know, pray against all these evil spirits, things like that. So the shame of probably carrying a family curse or being a sinner in the Christian realm, all those kinds of things are the ones that are inhibiting us from coming forward to ask for help, or even talk about how we might not be well mentally. I mean, when you look at Africa, as again, we have this idea that Africans are strong and therefore they cannot be torn down by anything. But oftentimes when people say that, I ask them, why is it that we have a mental health national referral hospital if Africans are not affected by that? In Uganda, we have Butabika Hospital, and it is where it is the, I don't know, do I call it the center or the lead health organization that is dealing with mental health in Uganda. So it's a couple, it's those things, it's a mixture of those things, the cultural aspects, the religious bit, the lack of information. I like the way how Denis termed it, mental health literacy. It's all those things that we need to up in our game, or rather in our understanding of mental health.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Nabuguzi. So I'm going to the chat board because we have a few messages. Okay, Agaba says it's still happening till this day. It's not simply something of the past. Consult the ancestors. I guess that was in response to what you were saying, Nabuguzi. And then Harriet says, talking about Africa, we really need sensitization about mental health because suffering is equated to resilience. I agree completely with Harriet. So when someone is not feeling well without a physical problem, it is taken as a weakness. Thank you so much, Harriet. Thank you. You are on point. Fantastic. So DKA says interesting points, particularly about the stigmatization of mental health in Africa for some of the reasons touched on by Nabuguzi. My question is, what are the practical steps that should be taken to quash this stigmatization? Thank you so much, DKA. We're coming to that. But in response to what Denis and Nabuguzi have said, I think the both of you have said it all, but I just want to add that I think that the stigmatization of mental health, you know, is one of the biggest challenges or clogs in the wheel of the progress of the promotion of mental health literacy in Africa. And I say this because I remember sometime last year, I attended a mental health seminar and workshop, and the psychiatrist, you know, who was one of the guest speakers, said something that caught my attention. He said, the stigma revolving around mental illnesses is so bad that when, you know, family members, loved ones intentionally, you know, end their lives through suicide, and family members are reporting the death to the government, they do not state suicide as the cause of death. They say, oh, he slept and he didn't wake up. I mean, autopsy is not even a thing in this part of the world. People just say, oh, he slept and he didn't wake up, he fell and bumped his head and he died, and that's it. You understand? So that's one of the ways mental illnesses is heavily stigmatized. Then again, you have some religious establishments that would not bury the corpse of anybody who commits suicide. That's also stigma. That's heavy stigma targeted at mental illnesses in Africa. Then you have, in my place, I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria, and there's something called Owumiri, and this is something that happens to moms with newborns. Now, when I didn't know so much about mental health, and I read about these things, you know, most of the symptoms associated with this Owumiri thing, well, Owumiri is something that has to do with marine spirits, like spirits, water spirits and stuff. What do you call it? Disturbing moms with newborns, when she's displaying all these symptoms. But something now piqued my interest when I started educating myself on mental health. I realized that a lot of the symptoms of Owumiri can actually are very similar to postpartum depression, and in some cases postpartum psychosis. But guess what happens? In cases where this Owumiri is severe in moms with newborns, they take her to a religious house. And sometimes they abandon the mother there. The mother is abandoned. The woman is just abandoned there by the family because, of course, the people in this spiritual houses, as a function of whether relevance or ignorance, they keep saying to you, oh, she's not getting any better because one of your ancestors did stuff and we need to appease them. And there's so much financial and mental stress on the emotional stress on other family members who are also obviously ignorant, about mental illnesses and what should be done when family members are experiencing a downtime when it comes to their mental health. So you look at all these things. For instance, the first day I shared my story on my social media handle about my experience with postpartum depression, I kid you not, for the rest of the day, I was responding to women who were going through the same thing. And they said, wait a minute, you mean there's actually a name for what I'm feeling? And they felt comfortable to talk to me because I had already spoken about mine openly. Some of these women said they have not even told their husbands how they're feeling. They're unable to talk to their partners for the fear of, being castigated or, being criticized and all that. So this is also my contribution to the question asked. And I'm seeing Chedoze, who has just joined us. Thank you for joining us, and Cynthia, thank you. So we're about to call it a wrap. And Agaba, I see you raising your hand. You want to make a contribution before we call it a wrap?
Yes, I think I'd just like to say something. First, in agreement with what you've just shared, and then to answer DKA's question, what are the practical steps that we can take? Very true. One of my professors at the university, did a study where they, met with elders in one of the local communities and shared with them what we call vignettes, a small story that has all the symptoms of the major psychiatric disorders that they are. And interestingly, these cultural leaders had a local name for each and every one of these mental health disorders, right? So they were not new things. There's always been this notion that mental health is something that was invented by the white man and it's a white man's disease, and therefore it's not something that is African, but you see, when they did this study, these people were able to actually name illnesses for each and every one of these illnesses that we have. So these have been with us for the longest time, just like you talk about this water spirit sort of illness. So it's nothing new. We knew it, we've seen it before, just that we did not know what it was, and therefore we apportioned our own understanding to it, so the ignorance comes out very
absolutely vivid.
And so it's not just in Eastern Nigeria, it's the very same thing here in Uganda, in all different parts of Uganda. These illnesses have been around. They're not new. They were not brought by the white man. We just did not know what they were, and we sort of apportioned our own understanding to them. And what's the solution? How do we go forward? Again, it's talks such as these. It's you sharing your story. It's us, holding up the megaphone and shouting to the world what mental health is all about and what mental illness actually is. Because then once we become informed, then we are empowered to actually start changing the narrative and actually getting treatment. I like to always juxtapose what I like to call the success of the HIV story. I don't know how it was in Nigeria, but I mean, if you go back 25 years in Uganda, HIV was, unspeakable, right? Like we didn't know what it was.
It was the same thing in Nigeria.
People would just get very slim and very small, and before long, we had entire villages that were dying, entire families were dying. And people who were doing the exact same thing, they would run. The moment you started losing weight, people would run away from you. The family would lock you up somewhere. No one wanted to talk to you. No one wanted to touch you. But over time, that we began to tell the HIV story. We had champions come out to share their experiences. In my primary school, we would sing songs about HIV, right? Like, we knew HIV so much, and that broke the stigma around it. People are now living positively. Nowadays, HIV is not that thing that you're going to, if I told you I had HIV, you're not going to run away from me. I mean, people live together. We even have discordant couples, right? And they are taking care of each other, and people are living long. I mean, we now have people who lived with HIV for 30 years and are very healthy. They've learned how to take care of themselves, how to live positively, take their medication, and get the right help that they need for them to thrive and to survive. So I am convinced that the same can work for mental health. If we come together as a team and we sing the songs that need to be sung, and we get to learn and to know, and we become aware, the stigma will vanish. Then we have a better understanding. Then we know where to go to seek help. We know the right places we need to get appropriate help that we need, and we can get healthy, and we can learn how to keep healthy, how to protect ourselves from mental illnesses, and how to thrive mentally. So practical steps, let's get the conversation going. Let's pull together as many people as we can to share their experiences and to talk about it and to teach ourselves to learn. Once we become literate, the stigma dies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dennis. And just before we go, Harriet, I'm looking at the chat board, and Harriet says, currently in Uganda, the people who are at the forefront of mental health are not understood. It is seen as not an urgent issue, as if a luxury, considering the hard life people are living. And this is a very important point that Harriet just raised. So you see, even with something as I would say it's small, as significant as traditional gender roles, where men are expected to be this tower of strength for their wives, for their children, for the females in society. When a man says, hey, look, I think my state of mind has been compromised, it is considered weakness, because already there's the culture of silence where men are not expected to say, express themselves, say how they feel, and also I have made posts on my social media handles talking about mental health and why we must embrace it and understand it. And people say to me, hey, you just want people to get off easy. Life is hard. So why on earth are you talking about mental health? And we're Africans, that's for people in the West. That's for Oyibo people. We call Caucasians Oyibo people in Nigeria. So it's only Oyibo people who have mental health problems and stuff. So, these are all the pointers that constantly reminds me, like Agaba has said, of the need to talk about mental health at every given opportunity. It is a continuous conversation. It is a conversation we must have. It is something that must become in fact, that's why I said to you, Dennis, that one of the things I say to people when we're about to have a conversation, the first thing I ask them, how is your mental health? That's a way of me creating awareness, educating you about mental health, to let you understand that we all have mental health. I was giving a talk on mental health to the elderly last week, and I had quite accomplished people, in that circle. And I asked them what they understood. When they hear the word mental health, what comes to mind? This is a question I ask every time I go to give a talk on mental health. And you will see that this gap in education when it comes to mental health cuts across board. It's not just for people at the grassroots, the elites, the middle class, like it's almost as if everybody has a perception of mental health. So once they hear mental health, they're thinking madness, they're thinking stuff like schizophrenia, they're thinking, that's the first thing. And I always say to them, well, if that's the case, then we all have mental illnesses because we all have mental health. You understand? So it is something that I think at the three layers of society, which is the government, community, and family, which is the key agent of socialization, there's a lot of awareness and education that needs to go on at these three tiers of society, because if government does not put in place solid policies, which they intend to implement It's not enough to pass laws on mental health bills and you don't intend to implement them. Or your community, they don't understand how they're stigmatizing mental illnesses is further pushing people who are dealing with mental health problems, into silence. Who they don't want to come out of the closet because of how you react. Or even family members who are the first point of contact for people who are struggling with their mental health. Because if your own family cannot even provide the support you need, in that moment, how much more community and government? So I think that also, in addition to what Agaba has said, these three layers of society are stakeholders when it comes to the education and promotion of the concept of mental health. So Nabuguzi, I don't know if you have any last words. And I'm throwing this open after Nabuguzi is done talking. Is Nabuguzi still here? Nabuguzi, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay, so after
yes,
Nabuguzi
I am here.
We'll just throw the floor open if there's any guests who would like to make one or two contributions before we call it a wrap. So Nabuguzi, over to you.
I'm grateful that we have been able to make this as short as it is, and I would wish for the people that are on board with us to join us in the, the fight against stigma, because part of me sometimes feels like I've done enough. And then you open Facebook and you're seeing a comment like, if you are struggling with mental health, get off social media. We are, for us here, it's nothing serious. You don't have to be a part of social media. And like, I thought I was doing everything. You guys, what's happening?
Very relatable.
So it's like you're moving forward. It's like you're moving
one step forward
and then moving back.
Backwards,
you keep going back and forth. Yes, but I would like for every other person who has been with us, even those that are live on Facebook, to join us in the fight against stigma. I like the example that Denis gave when he talked about the part of HIV. People barely fear HIV right now. I think now I don't know what we need to raise awareness on. People fear more pregnancies than they fear HIV right now. So I don't know what we have to do in that area, but yes, just let us join hands and make this work easier. Tell your story, because I am certain at beaten down by some. Personally, I had no single awareness about mental health. I only got to learn about it after me even coming out. The measures that I used were totally different. It's not that I was aware of the information or having the right resources. Of course, there was some wrong or dysfunctional coping mechanisms that I relied on until I'm now well equipped with the right information and resources and the people. I mean, I'm where this has brought me. I have Denis in my contacts. I can just reach him out and inform him. Like, it's that kind of, because the very first time I was told to go and look for professional help, I was like, that is there in Uganda. We don't have the information. So that is why we also keep pushing this to the public. We need to keep pushing this to the public. Harriet, January, Progress. I'm not very sure where Cynthia comes from, but I'm certain you guys come from Uganda. Let us push this conversation. Let us tell these people that they can get help. I'm seeing DKA, Chidozi. Again, I don't know where, there is Jib. I don't know where you guys come from, but let us join hands and make our generation a mentally aware Africa. Absolutely. That is the most important thing, because we need to live holistically. Absolutely. And also push ourselves to the length where we can work. I'm seeing Medi Progress is at his workshop. Medi, you need to take care of your health so that you can make us great furniture for us. You can make for us great furniture for us to use in our homes. Let us just open the floor to the people that are.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'll go back to the chat board, and if there's anybody who would like to speak and make their contributions, because now we're at the end of this program. But let me see. January says clinical psychologists need to work hand in hand with psychiatrists if we are to achieve results. I agree. Where medication stops, psychologists pick up, like with talk therapy, with cognitive behavioral therapy. I agree. Together we can. Yes, we can. And then DKA says, well done, guys. Mental health awareness in Africa is dishearteningly low. So any push in that direction must be applauded. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if there's anybody else, Harriet, Chidoze, Mehdi, if there's anybody, January, who wants to speak before we call it a wrap. I think Mehdi wants to say something.
Mehdi, unmute yourself. Mehdi wants to say something.
He has.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, I was talking to, my name is Mehdi Progress. I'm a spoken word poet among other disciplines. But I'm very, very, very fascinated. One of the things that really inspire me are broken things. In my craft, in my life, I'm intrigued by broken things. So I'm always wondering the story behind that brokenness, and that definitely you can only go as far as you can when it comes to broken, dead things. But they are broken people, and you can see them. Because I'm fascinated by those broken things, I am always led to seek the stories behind broken people. Yeah. And that has bred or has nurtured my interest in mental health, because when you talk about broken people, you cannot escape the conversation of mental health. So I was talking to a group of Christian poets, I think the other night, Friday evening, and I was telling them one of the biggest setbacks that I would like to share here is spirituality and religiosity in the African sector, among other things, because our history has very many things that have not been dealt with up to date, and those things have been passed on from generation to generation. It is our culture as Africans to pass on beliefs from one generation to the next, and unfortunately, even mental health sagas or issues have been passed on from generation to generation, unknowingly or intentionally. But the biggest part has been an ignorant passing on of these things. But one of the ways that these things have been ignorantly passed on is through religiosity and spirituality. And now modern spirituality makes things even worse, because now we just say, pray about it. You are just pray about it. I mean, we don't pray about hunger. We don't pray about thirst.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
We don't pray about brokenness. Yes, we do. I think in the background you go and Father Lord, help me with, give me opportunities today. Let me get something into my pockets. For example, when you check in the Lord's Prayer, if I may go a bit deeper into this spiritual thing, there's a part that says, give us this day our daily bread. But man, we don't stop there. Jesus did not tell people to say, give us this day our daily bread and go back and cover yourself. He says, if you don't want, you also not eat. In other words, there's an action point to every prayer that is going to be prayed on.
Absolutely.
And so as Africans, our undoing is just taking these things literally and stopping there. But we've got to go out of the way, just as we seek. We go to the restaurant and pay for a meal and eat it, go and ask for a glass of water. We need to go and talk about these things concerning mental health and be open about it, because you are not stigmatized for being hungry, right? You're not stigmatized for being sick. We go to the drug stores and buy medicines, and it's okay. Why shouldn't it be okay to talk about, even when you're a Christian, even when you're known to be a deep Christian, and let's go and seek. I am a Christian. I'm a very devoted Christian, and in the Bible there is a part that says, the revealed things are for us, for our benefits. when God reveals something, it's for our benefit. And if he hides something, it's not for us. There's knowledge that has been, there is research on mental health. There's knowledge here, and we need to take advantage of it, make use of it. Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, all across. But the challenge is we just gloss over these things and we are like, tusabe, mubisabire, musabire, mulalu, they are mad, pray for them. And while I believe in prayer, I think it's not just about praying and then leaving things at large. So as Africans, we need to stop glossing over things, especially the spiritual people. We need to stop glossing over things and actually go to the root of these things and find solutions. And mental health is a huge cause of dysfunction in families, in society, in every aspect of our lives. And until we come out and actually deliberately from the grassroots of family, I don't even want us to start with government and policies. From family, from you as a mother, you as a brother, you who is in the know, who is exposed. Nabuguzi, what are you doing to make sure that this young chap in your circle finds it comfortable to say, I don't feel okay, to find it comfortable to talk about these things. So as fathers, I'm a father, and as fathers, as mothers, as brothers that now know we need to create atmospheres that allow for safe conversations about mental health. And that is how the fire will catch. Then those of us who are exposed, for example, in poetry circles, those of you in the marketplace and business spaces, allow for these conversations to thrive freely without necessarily people feeling uncomfortable and feeling like they are committing a taboo. All right, that is personally, but the biggest I'm doing is that religious approach to things and living things at large, because yeah, like you guys have been saying, we are Africans, but we are humans in the first place.
Right. Oby, you are muted. You need to unmute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Nabuguzi. I was thanking Mehdi for his contribution, and I said we should have brought him on as a guest panelist yeah. Because he just, oh my goodness, you saw me nodding my head every single time because he just said it the way it is. Thank you so much, Mehdi. And we have two people raising their hands. So we're going to start with Chidozie because her hand was up before DKA. So Chidozie, can you please unmute yourself? And thank you for joining us.
No problem. I just wanted, oh gosh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Just a moment, Chidozie, just a moment. Dr. Denis, just a moment. Chidozie, a moment, you guys. Dr. Denis, if you are, he has a certain engagement that he has to be running to. So if you feel like you should be saying goodbye to us, we are open to letting you go. We are grateful for the time that you've given us. So I don't know, do you say goodbye right now before we go to Chidozie and DKA, or are you staying with us?
I request that you allow me to say goodbye at this point. I have another engagement that I need to get to. I wouldn't want to keep them waiting for too long. But nonetheless, very, very excited, very delighted, very privileged to have been part of the conversation. I think we need many, many more conversations of this kind. I look forward to more conversations. I would always try to make the time to join in, to listen, to learn. I'm also learning so much, much as I have, been learning many things from the theory and the very complicated stuff, but, listening to the experiences of, progress and then all the others is actually filling me up a lot more. I'm enjoying the conversation. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's continue to engage and to share and to rally the support. I have an uncle who has a very beautiful saying, that no one of us is stronger than all of us, which is very powerful. So no one of us can win this war. We have to do it together. We are stronger together. So let's keep pulling our resources together let's keep having these discussions together. Let's work as a team, Nigeria, Uganda, let's get the whole continent on board.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to begin to make very significant gains in the fight.
Absolutely.
Mental.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you. I'm sure we'll have further discussions revolving around the subject matter at a later date. So thank you so much. And it's fine if you have to go at this point. Okay, so Chigozie, back to you.
Right, just a quick one. I just want to say thank you for you organising this, Oby, and your guests for the valuable insights that they've got with regards to the mental health situation in Africa. But just to address it in general, even if you're not in Africa, over abroad, everywhere, when it comes to people of Africa, Afro-Caribbean or African generation, it is a taboo with regards to mental health, whether you go and seek mental health, when you're having issues with your mental health, people do not want to go. You can talk to your blue. It's almost like it's a thing. Anything that's happening, you want to keep it to yourself. I don't want to tell anyone what's going on with me. Do you understand? So that taboo is not just with ourselves in Africa. It's a general, I would say, color thing, as a Black people thing. It's almost ingrained in us. And it's a matter of us working, taking that out of ourselves and working with it. Because obviously, I'm a Nigerian. I know how it is. We see people with mental health when I go over there, and it's challenging. You see people on the streets, they're not being helped. Education-wise, like you've called this awareness program. How many people are actually on here? There's not a lot, because they don't see it as anything. It's not important until they fall ill. Then they remember, oh, there's this person I know that deals with this thing. But why can't you, whilst you're not unwell, because we all have mental health, but we've got good mental health. So when you've got good mental health, come and learn so that you can help yourself and help other people. And I'm glad that you've taken the flag to be flying it in Nigeria. It's challenging, but you consistently, with your radio, your personal page, you're doing that. And I'm sure the other lady, I don't want to mispronounce her name, that's why I'm not calling her name, right? She's doing
Nabuguzi.
Yeah, Nabuguzi. And it's challenging because when you're talking to people, they think you're mad, right? Mental health, right? It's considered that, I know, like when we talk about it, because when she was saying it and she was saying mental, I said, no, please don't say mental. Keep saying mental health. Because when you say mental, that's the thing that people are, no, it's mental health. Do you have good mental health? Oh, someone is unwell. Oh, their mental health is not great. And I think that's in Africa as well. What I notice, or when I'm in Nigeria and people are talking about mental health, it's always, oh, they're mental, or they're this. So when people are talking to me, because I'm in that field, please don't tell me they're mental. Their mental health is suffering. And I think as well, language, we need to be mindful of the language we're using when we're talking about it and promoting it, so that when people are coming to us, when they're saying them, oh, this one is, no, they're not mental. Their mental health is not good at the moment. But you guys are doing a good job. And I just want to say thank you. Thank
you. Okay, DKA, over to you, please. Let's hear DKA.
Right. So first, I wanted to say a huge well done to Oby Nabuguzi. I think I pronounced that right, and Agaba as well. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I mean, we need more of this. And two things I wanted to agree on. There was something that Agaba said, talked about let's keep the conversation going, which I totally agree with. And he also said, no one of us is greater than all of us. Again, that is so true. We need that sort of societal collaboration to create this awareness of mental health. And the last speaker really did nail it down when she talked about being careful about the language that we use. I remember in the UK about 10, 15 years ago, we used to refer to people with mental health as spastics and all sorts of nasty names like that. Thankfully, we've moved on from that. But in Nigeria, you have people saying things like it's mental, and the word mental is used interchangeably with the word mad. And what I would have loved to see more of in this podcast this morning is probably a lot more said about stigma. because I think that's the biggest challenge we face in Africa, really. But I'm sure there's going to be many more conversations like this, and that's going to come to light. I also would have loved to see a bit about what Chido said last, sort of correcting people on the language they use when we talk about mental health, because sometimes the language itself is demeaning, and it's a reflection of people's perception of what they think mental health is. So I would love to see more of that, but I know there are going to be many more conversations. But in the time being, guys, very well done indeed. We need more of this. Africa needs more of this. You guys are on the right track. So thank you very much indeed. Well done, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, TK and Chidozie, for your contributions. I'm going back to the chat board, and Medi says, thanks, Nabuguzi Kiwanuka, and your co-host for this conversation. Thank you so much, Medi. Thank you for your brilliant contribution. Thank you to DKA. Thank you to Chidozie, Harriet, January, Cynthia, and Agaba, who is on his way to his physical event right now. So, okay, at this point, we will call it a wrap, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue this discussions at a later date. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And please, let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep the flag flying when it comes to mental health. Oh, Stacy just joined us. Hi, Stacy, welcome. Welcome, although we're now at the end of the event.
Has a question.
Okay.
Who are you welcoming? January has been with us.
No, Stacy. Stacy just joined us. Stacy
what? Oh, she was on. It's a lady.
Yes,
she was on.
Yes.
There's a moment.
Oh, Stacy, have you been here?
Moment when I was asking where Stacy she's been here.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Stacy, please, can you? I don't know if she's able to speak. Okay, yes. Okay, so do you have any contributions?
Yes, I've been here.
Hi, Stacy.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I didn't even know you were here. So do you have any contributions to make before we go?
I actually do not, but I think this is a very important topic. And I agree with Chidozie. It's a problem in most of the Black communities as far as not really utilizing mental health services or even considering it as a real illness and something that needs to be addressed. We have the same issues here.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you. So I guess this, falls back to what I'm saying, that we need to keep this information going. So Harriet says, my last comment is to appreciate Nabu and team for this conversation. Thank you so much, Harriet, for joining us. Chidozie's phone says, where do we get more information? Okay, where do we get more information from you? Okay, we are our social media handles. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as Thryve Network. On Twitter, we're on Twitter as Thryve _ Network. So Nabuguzi is a mental health advocate, and she's a podcaster. So Nabuguzi, where can people get more information from you?
She's gone.
Nabuguzi.
More information from me. Nabuguzi Kiwanuka is the name everywhere on social media. You can't hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Nabuguzi Kiwanuka is the name everywhere. Chidozie tried to pronounce it as it's Nabuguzi. There is a G somewhere. That's the name on all social media handles. And on LinkedIn, there is a newsletter, Nabu Network newsletter, where we normalize these conversations in an African aspect, where an African can actually relate to the conversations of mental health. If we can create a fabric that is easily worn by an African, as far as mental health is concerned, that is where my goal is. The first thing that happened before the newsletter was the podcast, Hashtime with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka. I'm sure when you put my name in Google, every result related to the podcast can come up. Hashtime with Nabuguzi Kiwanuka in all podcast platforms. That's where you'll find the podcast. Yes.
Okay. All right then. Thank you so much.
And for those who are in Uganda, we're going to have a mental health garage. It's the very very fast one in Uganda. And it's more like an intervention to make mental health services accessible in Uganda.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry for those who are not in Uganda,
Fantastic.
but perhaps
Fantastic.
you can find something that is happening somewhere in your. Yeah, so I contacted some psychologists that made it cheaper for people to access. And so what that fee, that small-ish fee that you'll have to pay is it will be catering for your professional fees with a professional, and something small that you can eat so that you don't go away hungry. We don't want you to get hungry. We are also thankful to someone who sponsored 7 people.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's very nice.
So be on the lookout, because it turns out that even when we subsidize the fee, there are people that cannot afford it. So someone sponsored 7 people, and we can't be more grateful.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think
Oby, thank you so much.
That's brilliant, Nabuguzi. Are you going to live stream it for those of us who are not in Uganda, so we can be part of it and see what you're doing?
It will depend. It will depend. We'll find out how we can do it.
Okay then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Medi's hands are up. Medi, you want to say something before we go? Medi, you need to unmute your mic.
Cool. Am I on now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted us to thank you, Nabuguzi, for that mental health garage. I hadn't heard about it until now that you mentioned it. As people that are in this field, the last Africans, we have gone through a lot of very bad leadership pandemic for the last entire life that we have existed as a continent. So the last people we are going to go to are the leaders until we make our voice known on the grassroots and do these things ourselves. Those people are they won't care about us. They won't do anything. They also have their own baggage, really. So when they get into those positions, they first have to take care of themselves. So I would like us to continue doing these things as much as possible and as much or a wider scale as possible, so that we stop looking at governments to help us, leaders to help us. We just gotta go out there and do these things, and maybe they can come on board later on. That's what I wanted to say. Let's do these things ourselves.
Oh yeah. I guess that's exactly what we're doing. But thank you so much again, Medi, for your contributions. Okay, so I guess at this point, it is safe to say that we can call it a wrap, even though I do not want to go, and this is one conversation I want to have all day long. But of course, it's not possible. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And hopefully we'll have more of these conversations in the future with Nabuguzi and Denis and maybe 1 or 2 other guests. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.